Hi there, my name is Toby and I call this JEDI training because I'm trying to demystify many of these ancient esoteric practices and internal martial arts. But to me it's all about the force, just feeling the energy, feeling the force. And to do that we've got to get our body just right. So we start off here standing up nice and tall, pull the belly in, a slight backwards arch in the lumbar, look out the legs, lift up the shoulders up and back a little bit, head nice and tall, and we just start by rocking forward and backwards onto the heels and onto the toes. You're just trying to feel your body weight, your center of gravity, rocking forwards and rocking backwards, but your whole body is rigid. You've got to hold it all together, connected, the bone structure, the spine together with the hips going down the legs, and you're only moving from the ankles, the feet, taking your weight forward and backwards, trying to let your arms even relax. You can see the arms swing a little bit forward and backwards just by this little shifting of weight. So that's what we're trying to do. Feel inside the body minute control. It's the control of our center of gravity. To do that, you've got to feel it. Now once you've got that feeling, we're going to start generating some movement. So just gently again levering at the hips, still trying to keep a vertical spine. You again slight backwards arch, project the hips a tiny bit. So you're standing up and sitting down from the hip joint. It's not so much the knees, no work in the knees, more the hips. And if you can do this, again using the glutes, pushing the hips forward, you start to generate a little swing in the arms. And you're just trying to relax the arms, generate a swing in the arms from a movement in the legs and the hips. So this is again is the secret. The secret to generating power is a flow of movement through the body. Flow of movement through the body. And here, even now, lift the shoulders up a little bit, hold them up a little bit, slight amount of tension to hold the shoulders up, but try to relax the elbows and the fingers. And once you've got the feeling of this, try a bigger movement, a bit slower. Swing the arms more, feel them swing down to the bottom, the blood will rush to the fingertips. So again, you're creating movement in the blood, but with very, very little effort. And you're creating movement in the arms, but no work in the arms. The work comes from the center of the body, the spine. So again now, nice tall spine, slight backwards arch, belly pulled in, rib cage up and back, and just start to roll the shoulders, rolling the shoulders forward. So the secret to movement is moving the joints in the socket. This activates the ligaments, the tendons, more than the muscles. And this also controls the flow of blood, the lymphatic system, and the flow of energy, the chi. And you can think of that even as electricity. The nerves flow electricity through the body. But the chi, the force, is deeper than that. It's metaphysical. It's your thoughts, your soul power, your consciousness. That also needs to flow through the body. You've got to feel your body. That is your consciousness going into the body. And when your consciousness goes into the body, into the movement, that's when you generate energy, generate this force. Now try this shoulder roll going forwards. But as you roll the shoulders forward, you also rotate the shoulder inwards a bit. You can see you pull the shoulders back, then up, then forwards, but you rotate them forwards at the same time. And again, try to relax the elbows and the fingers, very little work in the arms. Try and control it all from the shoulders themselves. And again, nice tall spine, lift up the rib cage, lift up the shoulders, and then let the shoulders roll forward and even drop forward. You can see now here I'm lifting them up and forward and dropping them. So I'm starting the movement off and then relaxing it, and you see you get a little whip out to the fingertips. If you look carefully now, what you're really doing is drawing a figure of 8 with your hands. You're doing a figure of 8 movement, and that figure of 8 is actually coming from the shoulders. You're drawing a very small figure of 8 inside the shoulder joint. Here you can see the figure of 8. Feel this motion. Now what we're doing here is creating a kinetic chain, a movement, a wave, a whip down the arms. You're starting the movement in the shoulders, and then you're letting that movement flow down the arms with relaxation. Now all together, a little bit of this, and also together with a little bounce. So again, you're trying a little bounce up and down to help the shoulders move, and just controlling the shoulders a little bit into this rotation so you get a figure of 8 movement with the fingers. And just try and get this rhythm, play with it a bit. Feel the figure of 8, the flow. It's a wave and it's a whip. And when you get the relaxation, you'll feel there's a moment when your fingers whip out and the blood rushes right to the tips of the fingers. And this is where it gets very useful in martial arts, developing power. It comes from this fluid movement. but the fluid movement must come from relaxation and this kinetic chain. If there's tension, it stops this flow. A whip, in order to have power in the whip, it must be fluid. You can't stop it. Now what we're trying is one arm at a time. So again, one arm at a time, you rotate the shoulder forward and then allow it to come back. You're drawing a figure of 8 with the hands. A figure of 8 forward and a figure of 8 back. Again, vertical spine, a nice natural spine, belly pulled in. But now you can see I'm twisting the spine and even letting the rib cage move a little bit and rolling the shoulder a little bit with the rotation of the shoulder. So I'm getting a lot of movement going on. The spine is twisting, the rib cage is moving, the shoulder is rolling, and now I'm even swaying a little bit. You see, the movement comes from the spine, fluid movement like a snake, like a wave, like it's water flowing through your body. See the figure of 8, and it's a swing. You get a rhythm to it, and you can relax the fingers and the elbow quite a lot. Now we try the hips. So the hips, what you've got to do is balance on one leg. You can lean against the wall, so one leg is free. Hold it slightly bent, but as relaxed as possible. Now you do is turn the hips in and out. You're trying to localize the hip joint and control the rotation in the hip joint, just like you were doing in the shoulder. Now you see what I'm doing is drawing a figure of 8 with the toes, doing an in circle and an outward circle, rotating the hips in and out, drawing a figure of 8 with the knee. And there's also a figure of 8 in the hip joint itself. Still project the hips backwards. You see I'm levering slightly at the hips, belly pulled in, pulling the hip joint backwards. If you can do this while you do this rotation, you will get more movement. You see, I'm trying to actually hold the hip in its optimum position, which is backwards a bit. If you project the hips forwards, you're already stretching them too much and you won't get so much movement. Hold the hip up and back, then try and do this figure of 8 movement. See now the other leg. And again, you're trying to relax the leg as much as possible. It's all in the joint itself. Rotating the hip in and rotating the hip out, and then generating this fluid flow, this movement, this figure of 8, and you'll feel the wave, the ripple or the whip go down to your foot. And this is the power, the movement you need for all types of kicks in martial arts. This is the kinetic chain down your leg. It comes from this movement in the hip joint, and that flows out naturally through the knee, through the ankle, into the foot for all types of kicking. So what I'm doing here are fundamental movements. They're useful for everything, but these fundamental movements come from the spine. And this is the very first one, twisting left and right, which we've done. Now I'm trying to show you how this builds up into more movements, martial arts movement. You can see the spine here. I'm pivoting the spine, twisting the spine, controlling from the obliques, holding the belly in, rolling the rib cage, rolling the shoulder, and then letting this little whip fly out. So it's not quite a punch yet, but you can see it's a whip. I'm flicking my fingers out. And if you practice, this can get very powerful, but you've got to be careful. You can hurt your elbow. And it's the same here with the legs. Standing on one leg, if I can balance, it comes from the spine, twisting the spine. The spine twists the hip joint, and then the hip flows out down to the knee, to the ankle. And it's a wave, a kinetic chain. It's a fluid motion. All starts from the vertical spine, the neutral S-curve in the spine. You get this pivot right, first of all, and then you extend this movement out into the hips and into the shoulders, and that will flow out down the arms and legs. So all movement, all efficient movement comes from this simple flow from the spine. So you need perfect alignment, stationary positions, and this is perfect movement. Comes from the perfect spine. I'm practicing this, trying to get this efficient movement. It's effortless. When you get it right, it's easy. It comes from the precision of flow, a kinetic chain. And if you get this right, you can get faster and faster, and it gets very fast and very powerful. But of course, in martial arts, you must also practice fighting. This is not fighting. This is an underlying skill that can be applied to fighting. But here it's just walking. This is even walking along with a little bit of a flow down the arms, a wave-like movement down the arms. And you can see it's also the hips, a little bit of a sway in the hips. You just play with it. It's very complicated. It starts from the spine, the middle of the spine, and it moves to the rib cage, the shoulders. Here you can see, very gentle, just a pivot. Even just holding the shoulder relaxed, you start to swing the arms. And the arm swings naturally, effortless. This again is walking along. And again, if you could do this walking along, one leg is just swinging in the air, totally relaxed. Only one leg is touching the floor. See, now again, I'm swaying a little bit between the hips. I'm starting to walk. But it could alternate between a relaxed leg and a minimum tension in the leg. And again, the arms just relaxed. But when you create this rhythm, it's very efficient. And if you can maintain the rhythm, the correct rhythm to do with your body weight and the alignment of your body, the movement becomes fluid and effortless, and it happens by itself. Now you can see I'm moving 1 foot forward. You can see how this is starting to move into martial arts. Tai Chi style movements. But systema is a Russian martial art. They will also recognize this. Again, it's to do with waves, creating movements, kinetic chain down the body. Now you can see how I'm turning this wave into all different types of punches. Again, it all depends on how you create the movement from the spine through the rib cage and flow it out down the arm, even upwards, little strikes. But a whip again is distance related. There will be a point where you hit where it's maximum speed. So you've got to get the distance right. You've got to be very accurate with a whip strike. It's timing and accuracy. Timing and accuracy is a different skill. That's combat tactics. Here, this is just body dynamics. Here you can see our turning kick. Again, the flow from the hip whips down the leg into a turning kick. So even a football kick, footballers can develop skill in football through this training. It does not have to be martial arts. And all different types of kicks, any different angle, you can control it from this movement, this kinetic chain. But of course, you've got to do very slowly and carefully, like me, doing it very slowly and carefully, because you've got to feel it. When you go too fast, too hard, you lose it. It's very easy to lose the feeling. And of course, you hurt yourself. So I hope this made sense. Play with it slowly and carefully. You can hurt your joints. It's very easy, so you must be gentle and careful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in any of these other videos here.